Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. As we all know, roster cuts were due across the league, NFL across the league, by Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, August 27th, that is, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, today is Wednesday, August 28th, at about 7 p.m., give or take. So I wanted to just come on here quick and give to you guys the Bills' final 53-man roster and share my thoughts along the way. And then right at the end, give you guys a 16-man practice squad for the Buffalo Bills, what that came to form and fruition today. So anyway, let's just jump right into it. For QB, this is pretty obvious. Josh Allen, duh. And then the second one, it didn't come down to whether Mitchell Trubisky was going to make the roster or not. I've been on record saying he was pretty gross and everything was really hard and struggle. And he looks just sluggish in preseason and he holds on the ball forever. But he's still the QB2, I guess. He has a good relationship with Josh Allen, so whatever. But the question of was he going to go on IR or not was because he sustained a knee injury that Sean McDermott reported himself that he was, basically, basically said himself that he was going to be out and miss multiple weeks. So I guess they're rolling the dice with him and not place them on IR because IR would knock him out the first 4 weeks and then you would have a QB2 problem. They did sign another quarterback. I was going to get to it later with the practice scout, but we'll just bring it up now since it's applicable. They did sign Mike White, not to the 53-man active roster because they would have to make a corresponding move and cut someone else initially, but they signed QB Mike White to their practice squad. I really, really like that. I think I would take Mike White. This might sound crazy, but I think I would take Mike White over Mitchell Trubisky, even for the QB2 in the active roster once he's healthy or not, I should say, rather. I know Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott are going to look at things like that because they were just so damn eager to bring back Mitchell Trubisky. It seemed like, don't ask me why, I don't know, but they were. But the cuts, obviously, Anthony Brown and Ben DiNucci. But I guess they're rolling with Mike Wright and the practice squad. They're going to kind of roll the dice, not place Mitchell Trubisky in IR, and a player, obviously, as you may or may not know, can be elevated for a total of 4 games before you have to decide, do you just keep them on the practice squad and never elevate them again, or sign them permanently to the active 53-man roster for the rest of the season at that point. Mike White, I'm assuming, won't have to be elevated the first 4 weeks, maybe the first 2 or 3 weeks at most. Right now, it sounds like the first 2 weeks, and he was in place of Mitchell Trubisky, so they'll use a standard practice squad elevation for that. But yeah, right now it sounds like the first 2 weeks around there, give or take. I say that because I like this Mike White signing a whole lot because he was in the Jets, he was on the Dolphins, now he's on the Bills, and he's a great asset, if you will, to be running that scout team in practice. It's the practice squad QB that kind of simulates the opponent's QB. So let's say they're playing Lamar Jackson. Hopefully the practice squad is QB is mobile enough to emulate Lamar Jackson. Let's say they're playing the Dolphins, like Mike White will be doing, he'll emulate Tua. And being Tua's backup last year and then competing with Skylar Thompson to be a Dolphins backup this preseason is really, really intriguing to be the scout team QB. Since he spent 2021 and 22 with the Jets and then 2023 with the Dolphins. So that's really, really intriguing. Running back, this is pretty straightforward. There was some talk of maybe would they keep a 4th running back with Darrington Evans or Frank Gore Jr. because he had kind of that one like lightning rod game, if you will. Where what I mean by that is he kind of exploded onto the scene with 101 rushing yards in the final preseason game, I should say rather, against the Panthers. So that was really encouraging to see. But they cut Frank Gore Jr., Darrington Evans, gets to them later for practice squad and whatnot. But they're going with James Cook, Ray Davis, and then Ty Johnson. And Ray Davis is pretty clearly past Ty Johnson because of talent, skill, and just because of Ty Johnson was injured for the first preseason game and he didn't practice for a huge majority chunk of training camp. So you have that to look at, I guess. And then Reggie Gilliam actually making it, whether you want to play running back, tight end, fullback, he can kind of do it all. I want him to be in the field more this year as an insert blocker because they don't have those big, huge insert blockers anymore. Yeah, Matt Collins can do it. Yeah, Keon Coleman can do it, I guess, as a rookie, although he's got to get acclimated and stuff pretty quickly. You don't really have that pass pro running back. I will say, though, Ray Davis has fared way better in pass protection as kind of a stumpy build guy. He's like 5'8", 220, 225 at most. 5'8", 225, I think he is, off the top of my head. But he fared very well in pass protection to my delight. So, but James Cook, very underwhelming. Let's just be honest, sucks at pass protection. Sorry. And then Ty Johnson, pretty below average to average at best, I guess, in pass protection. I've said this multiple times before on this podcast, and just the conversations and other people I've had off screen or non-podcast related. Latavius Murray, to much my dismay, even though I didn't like it, I'm sure a lot of you guys too, he was in the field a lot last year, not necessarily touching the ball, receiving it, running it respectively, but for that insert blocker, for the pass protection element. And I think Reggie Gilliam can do that at a very high level. He's literally described as a bowling ball by all his teammates. So why not just put him in the field to be an insert blocker or maybe a decoy or maybe give him a pitch or two a game? I just want to see his snap percentage go up is my main point. So, and then wide receivers. This was very, very interesting. The top 4 locks made it like everyone, including myself, predicted in no particular order, but Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, Matt Collins. And it came down to, were they only going to keep 5 receivers because they wanted to go heavy at another position, or were they going to keep 6 if they saw something from the 6? And we have our answer. They kept 5. In addition to those top 4 locks that I just mentioned, MVS was the 5th one. I was thinking if they were only going to keep 5, honestly, Tyrell Shavers was going to make it, but dropping that touchdown against the Panthers kind of really did him in, if you will, in a really bad way. And I know what people are going to say. That was a really bad throw by Ben DiNucci, blah, blah, blah. He could have thrown a better ball. Okay, could have been a touch better? Sure. But I don't know what Tyrell Shavers was doing. Did the sun get in his eyes? It literally went off his fingertips. If he comes down with that, they probably do keep 6 receivers, and that 6th guy is Shavers. And he didn't come down with it. They only kept 5. This is very intriguing. And now my question is MVS consistently active on game days? Because you would think, well, a receiver that's only good for 1 or 2 deep bombs a game and doesn't play a lick of special teams, and your depth receivers, wide receivers 4 and 5 in particular, want to be a big special teams contributor. You already have Matt Collins for that anyway. Okay, maybe you can have MVS, as much as I don't like him, inactive because of that, but also only having 4 healthy active receivers on game days is kind of risky. And MVS is another true outside receiver, and you have a lot of versatile tweeners, if you will, who can play slot and outside. You don't have much true X outside receiver other than Matt Collins. Curtis Samuel, inside out versatility. Khalil Shakir, same thing. Keon Coleman maybe does his best work as a kind of big slot. Dalton Kincaid, big slot. Dawson Knox, only a second time to go 12 personnel. So maybe you do want MVS for that 1 or 2 deep bombs a game, and maybe I was a little too harsh on him because when I was doing my roster projections, ever since he was signed, really, I never really had him making the team, maybe one of them, because all I ever heard was people's argument for why he would stay on the team. Well, he's got a fully guaranteed $2.25 million contract. That's literally all I ever heard. Can anyone give another reason? I kept saying, can anyone give it like another actual valid reason why you want to keep MVS other than he has a fully guaranteed contract? I don't know, but maybe I've been too harsh on him. We'll see if he's even active on game day. The cuts, Tyrell Shavers, and then a couple speed guys that were signed late, KJ Hamler, Demir Bird, Andy Isabella, and then I know people are going to have some type of reaction to this, Justin Shorter. I know there's this group, section, chunk, whatever you want to call it, of Bills Mafia that's the Justin Shorter hive chunk of Bills Mafia. Loves Justin Shorter. Oh my God, 5th round pick, 5-star from high school, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he hasn't done anything since high school. 5-star to high school, went to Penn State for 3 years, sucked there. Went to Florida for a year, sucked there, maybe 2 years. I think it was Penn State 3 years. Florida 2 years. It doesn't matter. The point is, he didn't do anything since high school. He sucked in college. I'm sorry to put it brutally honest here, but he did. I don't care about Justin Shorter. He didn't get claimed by the Bills. And spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about the claimed by any other team. Really, no Bills players did, surprisingly. There's a couple I'll talk about that somehow made it back to practice squad. But spoiler alert, Justin Shorter wasn't brought back to the practice squad. They went with 3 or 4 other receivers. That's an indictment on just how good Justin Shorter is. And to me, that's a waste of a 5th-round draft pick. How could it not be? I was talking about at the time. I wanted guys like Parker Washington in the 23 draft that they drafted him. In this 24 draft, I wanted guys like Brandon Rice, double dip at receiver, Malik Washington, Taj Washington. Any upgrade over Justin Shorter. And I know people are going to say, well, Aiden, it's just a 5th-round draft pick in 2023. Who cares about a 5th-round draft pick? It's a waste of a pick usually anyway. Totally untrue. Just look at this team's late-round picks. I know Dane Jackson's in Carolina now, but Dane Jackson, 6th-round pick. DeMar Hamlin, 7th-round pick. Christian freaking Benford, 6th-round pick. Day 3 picks make teams more than you think and have an impact. So Justin Shorter, complete waste of a pick. I'm sorry. And then Deion Kane and Xavier Johnson. Last 2 cuts. Tight end. Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox were locks, obviously. They made the team. Congratulations, obvious. Clear as day that was going to happen. Tight end 3 was really behind Quentin Morris, but it was really between Quentin Morris and Zach Davidson. There was a thought that maybe over the last week or so, maybe in the last week or so, that that maybe they could keep 4 tight ends and maybe they go lighter at a couple other spots. But unfortunately, they didn't do that. It's Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, and Quentin Morris, and they cut Zach Davidson and Trey McKitty, whatever, who cares? I really thought that they might want to keep 4 tight ends just because Zach Davidson didn't have the monster blow-up 3 preseason games I thought he would. Apparently had a blow-up training camp. I wanted to see more of him in the game action, if you will. This bodes well for Quentin Morris's injury. Again, Sean McDermott said he would be out. He said earlier last week, maybe Monday, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Not relevant. It is, but the specific day doesn't matter. Quentin Morris, he said, would be out multiple weeks with a shoulder injury. Same boat as Mitchell Trubisky and a couple other players. And this bodes well for Quentin Morris being more than ready for week 1 if they're not keeping a 4th 10 like Zach Davidson, or heaven forbid, like not even putting Quentin Morris on IR, injured reserve, destined to return. So your cuts are Zach Davidson and Trey McKitty. Offensive line. I thought there were, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought there were 8 locks here, your top 8 locks. Your 5 stars and your 3 main reserve bench guys, however you want to look at it. At starting left tackle, Deion Dawkins. Starting left guard, David Edwards. Excuse me. Starting center, let's see, Connor McGovern. Not Cedric Van Granger. That looks like a freezing cold take that I had predicted him win the center job before training camp. Whatever. Right guard, Osiris Torrance. Right tackle, Spencer Brown. And then Ryan Vandermark, who's your main left tackle reserve. Alec Anderson, who played guard, center, in a pinch tackle. And then Cedric Van Granger, who looks to, won the backup center job, even though Will Clapp was working over him with the second team most of training camp and preseason until the last game. And so after those top 8, the 8th being SVPG, Cedric Van Granger, the 9th, were they going to keep 9 offensive linemen, 10 offensive linemen, and who were those 9th and 10th, those last 1 and 2 spots, respectively, going to be? My opinion, it was down to Richard Garage, Leo Collins, Tylen Grable. Those 3. Maybe Will Clapp, toss them in there. But they cut Will Clapp, they cut Leo Collins, and it came down to Richard Garage and Tylen Grable, apparently, and Tylen Grable got it, and they only kept 9 offensive linemen. Only keeping 9 offensive linemen. I really thought they could keep 10 with both Grable and Garage. Grable, Garage, Will Class, whatever. Grable, Garage, Leo Collins, they all kind of not disappointed, but Leo Collins did disappoint. I think he's cooked. Tackle, guard, needs to retire. Tylen Grable and Richard Garage, I didn't really do much of note. So I think it's smart to keep the one that has more of a toolsy guy, if you will. Keep the one that has more raw athleticism, raw talent, however you want to look at it and term it. But cut Richard Garage. I really thought they could keep 10, but the ninth is Tylen Grable, and I agree with that. And then Kevin Jarvis, Keaton Bills, Gunnar Britton, and Mike Edwards, not the safety. Offensive line, Mike Edwards were cut. That's whatever. Defensive tackle. I thought the four that made it were locks. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Austin Johnson, and rookie third-round pick that has really grown on me with every passing month, really every passing day, honestly. Dwayne Carter. And it was up to where they go. It was down to where they're going to keep a fifth defensive tackle. In my opinion, no. And they didn't. If they were going to, it was going to be Deshaun Williams. But they didn't keep Deshaun Williams. And I always said, and the Bills clearly agreed, that they could get away with not keeping a fifth defensive tackle because you have a couple edge rushers that can reduce inside on certain passing down. Maybe run fits too. Dwan Smoot can reduce inside if need be. Greg Rousseau can reduce inside if need be and still play at a very high level. I mean, not very high, but you get the point. High level. So your cuts here are Deshaun Williams, Ilianku, Branson Dean, and Gable Steveson. I had quite of an interesting takeaway at Gable Steveson that I want to share when I talk about the practice squad. I'm not going to – that's just a little tease for later on. But I think we're underrating. I think we're underrating just how much better this depth is compared to last year. I keep saying this week in, week out in this podcast. Last year it was, let's see. Dwayne Carter, Austin Johnson are so much better than whatever the hell Jordan Phillips, Poona Ford, although he wasn't given much opportunity, much to my dismay and sadness there. Mainly Jordan Phillips and Tim Settle. Austin Johnson, Dwayne Carter are so much better than Jordan Phillips and Tim Settle. And even like if they were to keep a fifth defensive tackle, Deshaun Williams or Ilianku, I honestly like that depth as well. Practice squad or not. And then defensive end. Sorry, I lost it for me. Defensive end. This is where they went heavy. So not only keeping 5 receivers, only keeping 9 offensive linemen instead of 10. So only keeping 5 receivers instead of 6, only keeping 9 receivers instead of 10. This is where they kept the extra. I had 4 pass rushers, 5, because I think Javon Solomon worked his way after the first preseason game into being a lock. Greg Rousseau, AJ Panessa, Von Miller, Dwan Smoot, and Javon Solomon. And like I said, I love Greg Rousseau and Dwan Smoot's versatility reduced inside if need be. Javon Solomon, I just said he was a virtual lock after the first preseason game because he fared much better against the run than I thought he would. Coming out of college, pretty severe run limitations, but he looks to be a huge special teams contributor. And if he can play against the run, then fine. And then 6th defensive end. This didn't shock me, but it was quite the surprise. I won't say shock. I'll say it, shock level. I wasn't even sure if they were going to keep a 6th defensive end, but a 6th pass rusher. Excuse me. But if they were to, I thought for sure it would be Kingsley Jonathan. And they get to keep a 6th pass rusher, but not Kingsley Jonathan. It was Casey Tuhill. I don't agree with it. I would have kept a 6th pass rusher with Kingsley Jonathan. I agree with going heavy and keeping 6, but I don't agree with keeping Casey Tuhill to choose him over Kingsley Jonathan, cutting Kingsley Jonathan. But I guess I can see it from the perspective of Casey Tuhill is more proven. Casey Tuhill has been a huge special teams contributor in this league his whole career, and he's 27 years old, and he's proven a bit more, not a lot more, but a bit more than Kingsley Jonathan. They always say the best predictor of future success is past success, and if that's true with Kingsley Jonathan, he's going to have no future success because he was decent okay last year at times, maybe 2 years ago in a quote-unquote revenge game against the Bears after he was claimed by them, and released by them and came to Buffalo and played very well against Justin Fields. Well enough. So cuts were Kingsley. So I feel, I guess, from that perspective, Kingsley Jonathan, Cameron Klein, Rondell Bothroyd cuts. Rondell Bothroyd's whatever. Linebackers, this is also where they went heavy. So the top 4, the top 3 were locks in my opinion. Terrell Bernard, Dorn Williams, Nicholas Morrow. If they cut Deion Jones already, that signaled to me that they're going to keep Nicholas Morrow. Like, he's literally the only vet because after that, it's Eddie Lufocio, Balen Spector, and Joe Dreesen. That was me hitting the table in celebration. I don't know if you heard that. Whatever. Bad joke. Buffalo Joe made the roster. This is like so. I'm honestly happy for him. Like, this is such a cool story. We all know it by now. Grew up in Lancaster, went to Lancaster High School, played 4 years at Bryant FCS football, then transferred to UB for his fifth and final senior season, and then wasn't even drafted. He wasn't any old normal UDFA. Like, no one, the Bills, nobody was on his radar. Like, he was on nobody's radar, sadly. And then he comes for a local day, and then he gets a rookie mini camp tryout with the Bills and then sign, and the rest is history. So here he is. And it doesn't look like he's, being waived. You know how some players, especially UDFA, especially rookie trials like this, make the roster initially, and then their team claims somebody or signs somebody, then they're released a day later. Not Joe Andreessen, not Buffalo Joe. So that's very exciting. And then cuts Deion Jones, Shane Simon. But I will say, if you lose Dorian Williams and Nicholas Harrell has to start the season on IR, you are literally screwed. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to put it. I'm very shaky about this linebacker room right now. That is safety. Corners. There's a shakeup here that I'm stunned about, but the top 4 were locks in my opinion. Christian Benford, and the Bills clearly agreed. Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas, Taron Johnson, the cast of characters there. And then Kyrie Elam, and then Jamarcus Ingram. So Jamarcus Ingram, spoiler, Cam Lewis made it too. So Jamarcus Ingram, Cam Lewis, Buffalo Joe, Joe Andreessen are all UB products, UDFAs. That's really, really exciting with that pipeline. Brandon Bean said they would love to keep that pipeline of success going. Like, why the hell not? I mean, it's working. And then 6 here. How should I put this? They traded for Brandon Codrington, was a corner from the Jets, return specialist mainly. He was acquired from the Jets via 2026 late round pick swaps, day 3 pick swap. So I think it was like the Jets got a 6th round pick and we got Brandon Codrington, hell of a name to say, Brandon Codrington and a 7th round pick. And like I said, the Jets got a 6th round pick. When they traded for him, I was like, okay, what's going on here? I thought Daquan Hardy was the main punt and kick returner, mainly punt returner. And then they cut Daquan Hardy. That stunned me. Like, jaw on the floor. Like, that stunned me. Like, a 6th round pick who feasibly probably could have gone the 4th round according to most scouts. Like, I was stunned. Brandon Bean explained it today, though. He said he has a lot to work on with his decision-making because the first game, his decision-making was awful, where he far caught at the 5. The second preseason game, a little better, but still pretty bad. In the third preseason game, he did pretty well with his decision-making, but the inconsistency with decision-making, I guess, did him in a bad way, if you will. I didn't agree with that, but I was stunned. And then to Corey Couch, Kanai Lovely, Kyron Brown. To Corey Couch, he had a hell of a preseason game against the Panthers. He was a little spotty in coverage. To be honest with you guys, he was a little spotty in coverage, but physical tackler. He's a lesser version of Jamarcus Ingram, I feel like. They've done this with so many not just defensive backs, players in general. Spend a year or 2 in the practice squad and then see what can happen. They did it with Alec Anderson and Ryan Vandermark on the offensive line, and look, now there they are. They did it with Jamarcus Ingram and Cam Lewis, and now the latest will be to Corey Couch. Predictably. Safety. This is Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, Mike Edwards, Cole Bishop, Cam Lewis. It's probably going to be Taylor Rapp, and then, like I've been predicting for the last 3 months, May, June, July, 4.5 months about, give or take 4 months or so. DeMar Hamlin, I think, will be the starter opposite him, but I don't know what the hell's going on here because they're all injured. Mike Edwards injured, Cole Bishop injured, DeMar Hamlin injured. Apparently, Cole Bishop is ramping up, and Mike Edwards is getting back to be a full participant practice, but who the hell knows? Cuts are, let's see, Kendall Williamson and Kareem Jackson. No surprises there. I was really scared that they were going to have to put Mike Edwards or Cole Bishop, heaven forbid, rookie on IR. In that case, Kareem Jackson will make the initial 53. But this bodes well for the health of Mike Edwards, Cole Bishop, DeMar Hamlin. Maybe not all of them, but maybe at least maybe at least DeMar Hamlin and Cole Bishop. Mike Edwards, whatever, I could give or take. He's been more of a third safety for the majority of his career. Kicker, Tyler Bass, and they didn't bother adding one to the practice squad. but I'm really worried about Tyler Bass. Like, if he trots out there today and we ask him, go make a 45 field goal, win the game, hell no, he's not making that. I'm sorry, that sounds harsh, but I don't agree. I don't have any faith in him right now. I'm sorry, but I just don't. And you're the sixth highest paid kicker. He was fifth, but Harrison Butker passed him a few weeks ago. And then punter Sam Martin, long snapper Reed Ferguson. Sam Martin kind of bounced back, had some really good punts. I don't think he had any outstanding booming punts, but he was serviceable enough, maybe slightly above. And long snapper Reed Ferguson. Now this is interesting. Players that were placed in IR by the Bills. This is interesting. Designated to return. So after 4 games, they're designated to return. Linebacker Matt Milano. They're season-ending IR, and then they're designated to return IR. And they're eligible for return after 4 weeks. Obviously, Matt Milano ain't returned for 4 weeks. If he does return at all, according to all the insiders, it would be in this December, if at all. If I were to say it now, unfortunately, I don't think he returns. Right now, I'll probably go 90% doesn't return, pretty tiny chance that he does return. So 90% that he doesn't return, 10% that he does return December, like they say. That may be the biggest news of the day, though, that they didn't place him on the season-ending iteration of IR, like a couple other players that I'll mention in a minute here. Running back Darrington Evans. This is interesting with Frank Gore Jr. I'll just spoil it now. Frank Gore Jr. wasn't claimed. Duh. He's kind of slow and athletic. But I love his ball carrier vision. But back to Darrington Evans. I thought Frank Gore Jr. On the practice squad, there was no need for Darrington Evans anymore. And maybe after 4 weeks, they do add Darrington Evans to the practice squad. But I feel like once he doesn't have to return, this could be a release. I'm not thinking much of anything here. And then players placed on season-ending IR, offensive lineman Travis Clayton, whatever. He was going to take an international pathway program, exempt, however that works, a 17th spot in the practice squad. And then safety, Terrell Burgess. So safety is Terrell Burgess and D. Delaney. We'll probably see at least one of, if I would predict both of them get injury settlements in the next week or so they can continue playing for some point in the season for another team. Bills 2024 practice squad. We already talked about QB Mike White. Running back Frank Gore Jr. I already kind of spoiled there. And then 3 wide receivers. Tyrell Shavers, KJ Hamler, Deion Kane. Tyler Shavers, big-bodied receiver. I'm willing to take a flyer on him more than Justin Shorter. They play pretty similar anyway. And Tyrell Shavers is a special team savant, if you will. And then wide receivers, KJ Hamler and Deion Kane. I think they chose them over They chose them over Andy Isabella. I can't forget his name. Because they all do literally the same thing. But I like KJ Hamler. By the way, he has a really positive personality. I just wanted to mention that. It's really cool to listen to talk there. But yeah, I like Andy Isabella. I mean, it's whatever. He can't really break tackles on punt returns. At least KJ Hamler and Deion Kane, more so KJ Hamler, can break tackles in an emergency situation. Tight end Zach Davidson. I honestly thought they could keep 4 tight ends. In fact, if you saw my roster projection, I didn't have time, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that. I didn't have time to record an episode to get a final roster projection to you guys because I was, on a little day trip with my family as the summer comes to an end here and my brothers go back to school. So it was really fun, but that's besides the point. I just put it out on Twitter, and I had been keeping 4 tight ends with Zach Davidson. But like I said, with Zach Davidson being only on the practice squad, not the active initial 53, that bodes well for Quentin Morris's health. And then few offensive linemen here. Richard Grudge, Will Clapp, Mike Edwards. Will Clapp is whatever. Mike Edwards is whatever. But Richard Grudge, I'm so glad we could get back. He plays tackle and guard. Will Clapp plays guard and center. Alec Anderson plays guard, center, tackle. If you are a depth offensive lineman, if you're not one of the top 6 5-stars and 1 bench guy like Ryan Vandermark who only plays tackle, you're playing more than one spot. Van Granger can also play guard and center. That's just how Aaron Cromer trains his offensive lineman to play his scheme. And the couple defensive tackles, Elianku and Branson Dean. I'm surprised they didn't keep a 3rd defensive tackle in this practice squad. And Deshaun Williams, but Elianku guy serves the same purpose, has been in this system for a lot longer as a practice squad staple last year's. Defense on Cameron Klein, but defense on Kingsley Jonathan somehow made it back to the practice squad. I thought there was no way he made it back to the Bills practice squad. I thought there was a 99 point. I'll just be honest with you guys. I thought there was a 100% chance he would get claimed by one of two teams. The Seahawks, because Leslie Frazier, obviously defense coordinator for years, Kingsley Jonathan's defensive coordinator in particular for 1 year in 2022. He's the associate head coach with the Seattle Seahawks now. And then Eric Washington, who was, Kingsley Jonathan's defensive line coach for 2 years, 2022 and 23 last year, respectively, is now the defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. And they desperately need edge help, pass rusher, whatever you want to call it, term it as, outside of Montez Sweat. So I'm shocked he got back. Corner to Corey Couch. Really excited. And then safety Kareem Jackson. This is an insurance policy. If Mike Edwards is placed on IR or Cole Bishop or heaven forbid DeMar Hamlin can't go week 1 or in a pinch Cam Lewis, but I think Cam Lewis, they don't really want him out there in defense. This is interesting, though. A few hours before I jumped on here to record, Kingsley Jonathan is technically considered an international player by the NFL by way of Nigeria. Obviously, he's from Nigeria. I don't know if you knew that, but he's from Nigeria, so he's considered an international player, actually, by the NFL, technically. So that means he is an exempt spot. So technically, we could we have now a 17th open practice squad spot now, given that Kingsley Jonathan stays on the whole time. I'm assuming that goes to Broncos, ex-Broncos released wide receiver Jalen Virgil, who provides size, special teams, punt return, kick return ability. It was reported earlier today. It's not on this initial 16-man practice squad. I assume off of Kingsley Jonathan's exempt spot, that will be the 17th spot. Anyways, guys, it was a blast all offseason predicting this really roster. And I don't want to get all sentimental here and everything and emotional, but thank you guys for following me all offseason. This has been the biggest period of growth for this podcast, biggest period of growth for Around the Slice, whether it's YouTube, you're watching on YouTube, listening on any audio platforms, wherever you get your favorite podcast. I really, really do appreciate that. And you can follow me on Twitter personally at @113. Follow the show on Twitter at Around Slice. You can, of course, watch this podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. If you would like to support me on Patreon and get extra exclusive bonus content not found anywhere else, for just $3 a month, go to patreon.com/aroundtheslice. Again, that's just $3 a month. You can join at patreon.com/aroundtheslice. And lastly, we're here. We're going to be starting and launching season 3 of Around the Slice just next week. I will tell you guys right now, my big preview episode for Bills Cardinals, I can't believe we're at this point already. My big preview episode for Bills Cardinals will be coming out next Wednesday, September 4th. So Wednesday, September 4th, look for the Bills Cardinals game. And until then, help me get to 30 subscribers by the Bills Cardinals kickoff at 1:00 p.m. on Sunday, September 8th. I'm at 25. I know you guys are the best. I know you can help me get there. So just 5 more. Please help this podcast grow. But yeah, big preview for Bills Cardinals dropping Wednesday, September 4th, 4 days before the game. I keep saying it because I can't get over it. This is where we're at now. It's we're saying, oh yeah, the Bills Cardinals game is next Sunday. Bills Cardinals is next Sunday. How awesome is that? I love the offseason. I love roster construction. I love the different points of free agency, draft, and then there's a lull, and then training camp and preseason. But we are fully 100% back. Big things happening. Starting season 3 of Around the Slice. New season, new NFL season, new podcast season. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And I will see you for my Bills. I can't get over this, but my Bills Cardinals, big Bills Cardinals preview on Wednesday, September 4th, a week from this recording. I appreciate it. See you on the next one. Bye.